Yo, what's going on, guys? This your boy Otaku Heaven coming at you with another anime episode review. Today I'll be reviewing episode 4 of the Phantasy Star Online 2 anime adaptation. Now, we get to see what the ARCS Festival is. Basically, the ARCS Festival is where a bunch of IRL people meet up to actually get to know each other better outside of the game instead of inside of the game. It's a lot like Jagex's Golden Gnome Awards for RuneScape, but PSO2 has it there, and apparently it's a super big festival that's probably the biggest unprofessionally sanctioned event in Japan according to the anime. But basically they all get to meet up and see that just like in regular MMOs, most people don't use their actual name and don't use their actual appearance, with the exception of Itsuki. In which there are some exceptions in MMOs where people actually try to look like themselves and also try to try to use their real name if the MMO lets them, because a lot of MMOs will say, "Whoa, that doesn't look like a good name because it's your real name." They don't want you to use your real name online for safety purposes and all. But anyway, this whole episode was pretty much about a date between Izumi and Itsuki. Basically, the whole time Itsuki's thinking it's a date at first, and he's pretty happy about it when Koda asked him to actually go to the event. He's like, "No, I've got plans that day." Before Koda when Koda went to the event, he actually realized he was talking about plans with Izumi. So I think it was pretty cool to see Izumi and Itsuki grow together closer than a date, even though they both denied it was a date pretty much the whole time. One time, Itsuki actually asked Izumi, "Is it a date?" And then she's like, "What did you say?" So after that, he's like, "Well, it's not a date then." So the whole time they spent the entire day denying it and met all these new people that they've already partied up with in previous episodes. And basically, they went on an IRL quest because they all asked her to go on a quest, and she's like, "No, well, I prefer to play solo." And Itsuki's like, "Well, no, isn't that what the ARCS event's all about? Is to get to know people that you play with online more personally in real life." So the quest they wound up going on with is while they're sitting there talking, Koda calls in and says that he's trapped in some callous, dark place surrounded by walls on all sides. And basically, what happened rather. I'm not finishing my words for some reason, but what happened is they all went on a IRL quest to find him, where they all almost started to give up before Izumi or Soro in the game told them, "Well, this is where our whole party's gonna fall apart if this keeps happening. You have to stick together." So they all eventually found Conan. And he was they found an old boxing or shipment warehouse, and it was right outside of the event, or either inside of the inside of the event, but in a separate building. And inside of that building, they found his phone just laying on the ground. So it did look like something bad had happened to him. But apparently, his stomach was feeling bad previously, and the girl that was below Izumi in the student council, I forget her name, the blonde haired chick, had actually given Koda a monomate when Koda was sitting there feeling real sad about how Itsuki chose to go with Izumi instead of Koda to the event, and so she handed him a monomate, which is pretty cool that they have something called monomate at these events. Hopefully that holds true in their life. I'll be interested to see how a monomate actually tastes. But I'm pretty sure they've actually got an ARCS fan event where they have concerts and stuff like in the show and everything actually in Japan, because it wouldn't be a far stretch with PSO being as big a game of it as big a game as it is in Japan, and actually expanding through English patches to everyone around the world, especially the West. But anyhow, moving along from past that, they find him. He was talking about he was in a restroom and he was out of toilet paper. That's the whole reason. So they were all like, "All right, then we should go." Then they left him, and then he's like, "Y'all aren't mad about that, are you?" And obviously they were. They weren't too mad, but they were mad enough to be like, "You wasted all of our time with this. We could have been enjoying the ARCS festival." And at the end of the day, Izumi was actually seemingly, potentially about to confess her feelings after thanking Itsuki for the date, but Koda basically interrupts him, and then she's pretty mad about that, but she starts to laugh it off at the end. So basically, we got to see connections between Itsuki and Izumi grow closer and closer. So eventually, probably about at least 10 or so, they hopefully they'll probably be dating by that point, and potentially even a growing love interest for the blonde haired chick in Coda, which her cosplay was exceedingly on point because a bunch of players in there actually cosplayed as their characters, but she took it to a whole nother level. She's like that one dude at the cons and stuff, or that one chick at the cons that just have everything completely on point. You actually almost think that could be the character. She was that. Which always she is an anime, so it's a whole lot easier. But not to demote those people that actually um, try that hard in real life because they're pretty amazing. But anyhow, that's what happened in this whole episode, and I think this episode was pretty laid back. It's more like a slice of life rather than an action or MMORPG entrance game, which it's actually very common in a lot of MMOs. You see people sitting at wherever the trading area is and just talking. So it's it's way more common than people may think it is. If you don't play MMOs, you don't always just play the game. Sometimes you just chill in the area that everyone gathers in, and it was a lot of that actually happening in Phantasy Star Universe before PSO2 came out. The whole top floor on the third floor of the Guardians colony was completely packed, pretty much. At least towards the center of it, and even some into the fourth and fifth, or I believe it was the fourth floor. Yeah, the floor above it with all the Guardians officials that had a bunch of people in it normally as well, and all the way up and down. But it was mostly just the third floor where you took off to all the planets or your other missions, and I'm pretty sure that holds true in PSO2 as well. I played a little bit of it, but I never got to the later end games, and I played a little bit later, so I didn't see a whole lot of concentration of people there. But I'm keep relating this back to PSO2 since it is about PSO2. This episode, however, it wasn't all that great. It was actually, I don't really think it was all that well written, but we got to see everybody go a little bit closer. Connections form, and we got a little bit more on Itsuki and Izuma, the student council president, and Koda and the yellow hair chick from the student council as well. Forget her name. Sorry about that. But overall, this episode is like a 6 out of 10. It really just wasn't there for me. There wasn't nothing doing it for me. Then, not even in the slice of life, and I really enjoyed slice of life. It's probably one of my favorite things. Like Hyoka, if you've ever seen that, is really good. So overall, I'm probably gonna give this a 6 out of 10. It just really wasn't there for me.